California just passed the nation's toughest data privacy law. Governor Jerry Brown signed the California Consumer Privacy Act of 2018 last week. Now, what does this do? It gives consumers sweeping control over their personal data, granting them the right to know what information companies like Facebook and Google are collecting, why they're collecting it, and who they're sharing it with. That's just really the very top of this. There's an iceberg below. You can also tell companies to stop collecting or selling personal data. The law takes effect in 2020. All right, so let's talk about this. To explain the law is managing member from Zanesi Technology Services, John Horst. Nice to have you here, John.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so all of this data. Let's start with what the imprecise language and loopholes of all of this is.
Well, in knowledge management, that's the term that we use in information technology. You have data, you have information, and you have knowledge. You can take a person's name. That's just a name. Anyone else might have that name. You can take a calendar date. And if the calendar date stands by itself, it just looks like a calendar date. You could take a calendar date like August 1st of 1967, and you can put that next to my name. And now the implication, the inference by doing that is, oh, that might be John's birthday. Yeah. It's not, but I was born in 1967. And then you look at that, now you have information. You have two pieces of data that have been brought into context with each other. And then you do some simple math on that, and you can conclude or have knowledge that I'm 50 years old because you just did the math on the date.
Right.
And so that's a very simple example of what can be done with very large sets of data. You could take spending patterns of young women, and then you could take a baby registry. And you could analyze those two sets of data, and now I can take the spending patterns of any one young woman, and I can tell you just by the spending patterns whether she's likely pregnant or not.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
Really.
And true percentages and numbers. I mean, the computers are crunching all day long, all night. They 24/7. They never stop. AI never stops learning. And so all of this knowledge is being used now to make money.
Yes,
that's one of the ways it's one of the things that it's being.
Yeah, only one of the things.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about all of this, because as we we look for in laws a place of safety, a safe harbor someplace. Right. Now tell me about that.
No, what this law, what it misses right now, is what I would call a cybersecurity safe harbor, and that would mean that a business that is implementing best practices for cybersecurity, they should have what the law calls an affirmative defense. In case of a breach, then they're sued. They should be able to go to court and say, here are the things that we did to protect the data. If they have that safe harbor that limits their liability, what that makes possible is a cybersecurity professional like myself, I can go to management, I can go to the shareholders, and I can say, here's the dollar value of taking these steps and doing these best practices and tailoring a plan and actually building a business with cybersecurity built into the business plan from the ground up. And that's what I do with small businesses.
Yeah, because just about everyone has some sort of purchase option on their site, or some sort of e-commerce, I guess you can call it. And the other thing that really astounds me about this is, and it's it's obviously to everybody who's involved in cybersecurity, is that people say this stuff lives forever. There's no retracting. You can't go back. That knowledge will remain in the system, whatever that system is, forever. Right. So how do you protect yourself from that?
Well, remember, and this is part of why it's such a big deal right now, is you bring data together and create information, and now people know things about you. And like you said, that knowledge is out there forever. What you can do is you can say, and AB 375 is at least moving in the right direction. You should be able to go to a company and say, look, I paid your bill already. We're done doing business. You need to delete that data. And before AB 375, you couldn't do that. And that, at least, what that does is it reduces what we call the threat surface. The threat surface is basically how much data about you is out there in the wild. The more data about you that's out there, the bigger the threat surface is to your identity and your privacy. The best way to shrink the threat surface is to get that data off of those systems. And so this will give us at least the start of the ability to begin to limit how much data. is out there about us.
I'll tell you, it's overwhelming sometimes when you think about that, you know, and you have to be proactive about this.
Yes, you do.
It's a lean in, not a lean back kind of situation.
Absolutely.
It's not going to go away unless you do something and pay attention to it. All right, John Horst, from the managing member of Zanesti Technology Services. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's spend another hour talking about this.
Okay,
we just barely scratched the surface.
Absolutely.
All right, John, thanks very much.